Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. I'm here from the construction industry. Lots of people know a lot about us. They think that we are, in fact, them. That we're the troglodytes that couldn't make it in university. We're the last refuge of the incorrigible and the congenitally stupid. Simply not true. The industry gets a bad rap. If you look around and you look at our business and try and analyze it, it's transitory for both employers and employees. It is a huge pool of workers, and every construction job that gets started has a finite date. We work with our employers. We don't hate our employers. The truth is, the employer is the guy we went to trade school with. He's the guy that drove all night after doing a 12-hour shift at Syncrude to come to your mom's funeral because he thought you needed support. So we know these aren't evil people. Cette réunion, une opportunité de faire mieux. You know what? This is a chance for us to fix things for our workforce. So what is construction? 14% of Canada's GDP, 8% of all direct employment, a pool of about 1.1 million people in the trades, 1.5 million when you take everything else into account. It exists in every town, village, and hamlet in Canada. We build everything, and it's not just the initial construction. It is service, repair, fabrication of components, renovation, revamp, and rebuilding. It is the refuge of the skilled trades. Our jobs go from the one-hole outhouse to some of the biggest industrial concerns on earth. You know, we build multi-billion-dollar projects in this country, and our workforce in Canada, per capita, our construction workforce is twice as big as the United States. It's because we have to build things to make it work. We have a dubious honor in our business. If you look at the statistics that are come out year by year, 30% of all deaths and injuries come to the construction industry, one that's 8% of all direct employment. And of that 30%, fully a third is mesothelioma, the gift of asbestos. Our demographics are not all that unusual. Most every industry's got them. We're a baby boom industry. For whatever reason, we didn't do a good job replenishing ourselves, and we're coming to a crisis. Our industry has grown in the last 20 years by 95%. Let's say it's doubled. There will be some modest growth in the next 10 years, but even with that, we have to replace 21% of our industry. Roughly 250,000 people. Even higher in Atlantic Canada, because I'm from the West, we stole their young people. We're going to replace 250,000 people, and given the success rate of completions in training, that means we have to find a pool of 500,000 people to get started. So actually managing our resource is crucial to success. Basic premise, don't hurt them in the first place. You know, like with Garfield there, over the last 20 years, we've got better at some things. Minor stuff, we've improved a lot. If you look at deaths and serious injuries, it hasn't changed much. We need to get better. There is a cost saving in safety. I think I've got another slide a little further on that talks a bit about that. We did a project in Newfoundland and Labrador called Hebron. 42 million work hours without a lost time injury. If you can do that there, or if you can do Rio Tinto for 30 million hours in Kitimat, if you can do the Athabasca oil sands with 38 million work hours in Alberta, there's no place in this country we can't work without hurting people. Thank you for the one. We all know the sound of one person clapping. If there is an injury, if we're the cat on the slide, the goal should be to return people to their pre-accident employment pattern as closely as possible and as quickly as possible. This actually takes time, work, and commitment. Sometimes it costs money. Fact is, if you look at something like the organized construction industry, roughly half of the construction industry, the broader the target group, the better our experience has been. You know, for a long, long time, we have treated our workforce as disposable people. If someone falls off the tower, they used to say about a company which I won't name, if somebody fell off the tank, they called the union hall for a replacement before they called for the ambulance. We can't do that. We can't cut that anymore. That doesn't work. Our industry, about 80% of it, are small employers, and small jobs create their own dynamic. The bigger the job, the more we can do because of the size of the workforce. It really does create its own weather. Big owners are interested in safety, and they're interested in being able to maximize the workforce. They have done the same calculations and have done the same analysis on replacing the workforce. And they understand that there is a sunk cost they are going to lose when we reject people. It is harder to deal with things on a small crew basis. Small crews, it's a question of timing, its size, its duration. It's not impossible, it can be done. And the smaller the concern, of course, the earlier the point of undue hardship actually arises. So how can we manage it? There's Donald Trump trying to manage North Korea. You know, we need to have pragmatic solutions. It is work, and there are cost implications. There are also cost mitigation strategies. It is managing return to work. It means that if you get someone who is injured, how do you integrate them back into your job as quickly as possible? Yes, we can modify the way work is done, whether it's customization or accommodation. Yes, we can modify the work site. If you're going to pour a concrete floor in a building you're building, pour it first so people with mobility challenges can get in there. And the way the worker works. We can modify the welding process. We can modify the way people actually attempt things. We can fix the controls on the crane so that someone who has a bad leg or a mobility problem can operate that piece of equipment. And we keep our sunk cost of the training we put into that person. We can reduce repetitive strain injuries. We can fix those issues we create. To make a worker more safe, we give him a welding hard hat combination, which gives you a problem. It gives you literally a pain in your neck. So can't we figure out a better way to do some of this stuff? It doesn't cost that much to do some research, and it doesn't cost that much to innovate. The law is pretty clear with respect to accommodations. If you can make a meaningful job from a bundle of job tasks, you're obliged to do that. In a number of cases, we've seen smart owners or multi-trade owners who will work people in a way that they will either work with or work with a comparable trade. You don't have to be able to do all of the things that are in the trade. You ought not to ever set somebody up to fail. If you have a person who has a mobility challenge, figure out a way to let them do the work. If you've got someone who can't climb the tower anymore, send a young guy up there to do it. Use this person's brain, or use their skill to do it somewhere else. Our business suffers, our business suffers from an inability to plan and schedule. Why does every construction job seem to have overruns? Because we can't get the men and women, the material, the equipment, the plans, all together at one place in one time. We do the same work in a shutdown, 42 days in and out. Everything is there because we plan. Who does the planning? Construction workers. It isn't just about onesies and twosies. Truth is, unions make employers operate better. We can come up with systemic solutions. We can come up with collective solutions. They can work across a site and across multi-employer sites. Our work is a workforce pool. You work for the duration of the job, you go back to the hiring hall and come back again. So why don't we dispatch people having knowledge of limitations, accommodations, and required customization? We can do that. A study was done by the Ontario Construction Secretariat that said unionized construction was 23% safer than other construction. So what does it mean? Pat Dillon from the Ontario Building Trades and I hired a guy called Carl Haas from Waterloo University to quantify that. He came back and said, on a $1.5 billion hospital job, you save $82 million. So let's be safer, and let's plow some of that back into returning people to work. Training breeds safety. Safe jobs are better organized. Organized jobs are safer. Unionized employees get training. Frequently in the non-union sector, they don't. Collective solutions work. And if it's culture shift, it takes time, it takes money, it takes perseverance, but it's doable. Gotcha. Safety includes return to work and effective disability management. So what can the system do? Take some of that lovely EI money, Part 2 money, and be pragmatic. Help us customize the workplace. Help us, if someone needs training, they shouldn't have to go take an 8-week course if it gets them a job. Pay them to go for a week. You know what? Does it make sense to have somebody on unemployment insurance or working steadily? WCBs, do some research to reduce and eliminate common issues. Come up with some ergonomic solutions. Be ahead of industrial disease, not 60 years late. Don't just give employers money. Something, make it worth their while, but don't just give them money. And let's integrate our support systems and programs. We have 11 labor jurisdictions in this country, and they run with a fit like this. If we get to this, we're better. If we get to this, we're laughing. Good idea bank, let's have one. Let's encourage collaboration through mediation and getting people to better ideas. This is a leadership challenge, a big leadership challenge. You know, Syncrude in Alberta, where I come from, manages its own WCB under an agreement with WCB Alberta. They get somebody and they've accommodated him, they've done whatever, the job ends, they don't just send that person back to the union hall, they move them to the next company that comes in. We can, gotcha. I'm at the end here almost anyway. I'm gonna have to go down there and take a sign, rip it up, do all kinds of bad things to it. Government is the largest consistent purchaser of construction in this country. Government does not insist that the contractor it gets does something smart in terms of work. In fact, we're a low bid, no matter how bad that bid it is, purchaser. Through commercial terms, through community benefits, however you strike it, government can make contractors work better. So it's time to think big. Government needs an appropriate regulatory and legal support system. Help people get to common solutions, and it needs to use the power of the purchaser. Unions need to keep pushing and keep collaborating. And employers, common sense says, you want to make money, we'd like to help you do that. So we can do it. There are gains here. If we can do it in construction, there's me running away from the saber-toothed tiger. We lose sunk cost investment when we dispose of people. We aren't the only industry with a time bomb. This is a leadership issue, and real leaders step up. Merci beaucoup.